sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. My name's Virginia Jones. I'm a stand-up comedian, but my sister's a therapist.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to humor hotshot Virginia Jones.
I was somewhere and I was reading something and somebody said, wow, you've got a great voice. Do you have a podcast? I'm like, yeah, you guys should know I have a podcast. Like I talk about it all the time.
That's literally all I talk about.
Yeah. But yeah, I do have a podcast and I'm not in great voice because I'm recovering from what can only be called the flu of the century.
Tell me more.
I don't think it was bird flu, but I don't know that it wasn't.
Have you had a lot of contact with birds lately?
I licked a bird, but I think that that's unrelated.
That may have been it.
What has happened is that my handsome partner has been spending a lot of time on film sets. And I believe that
there were a lot of birds on these films.
Yeah, a lot of birds on these film sets. I believe that he has picked up a little something
we call swine flu.
I did have swine flu one Thanksgiving, not showing off.
Why do you spend so much time with barnyard animals? I think is the question of the day.
That's my business and it doesn't have anything to do with you. So, Laura, as it happens, it's just been Christmas. And at Christmas, many of us are faced with our worst bullies who are in our families.
Our relations.
So my episode is about haters.
One of my family haters was criticizing the fact that my gift was a photo of me and my child. And it wasn't even a gift to them, but they went ahead and said, oh, it looks like you really photoshopped that. And I said, yeah, because I'm almost 50.
That was kind of them. When people say something mean to me, I like to say, oh, how kind.
I like to quote Trading Places and say, thank you. You've been helpful.
You had a lot of experience with holiday haters over the weekend.
I drink a lot of Haterade during the holiday season.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk about negging. And the term negging came out of pickup culture because it's a way to talk to a woman and make her feel bad about herself so that she has to prove herself to you. And what is the best way to prove herself to you than by taking her clothes off?
Didn't it start with that man who dressed like a cyberpunk?
Mr. E.
Oh, Mystery. Oh, God. Yeah, Mystery. Yeah. I think he engaged in some light negging.
Yeah. Negging can include backhanded compliments like, oh, I love your hair. Is it real?
I love your wig. Is that hair?
Comparisons to others. Oh, look at how pretty your sister is. And then a big silence after that. Disguised insults. This includes the poop sandwich.
Oh, yes.
There's a nice thing on top. There's a nice thing on bottom. And in the middle, there's just a piece of poop that you bite into without realizing it.
Yeah, this is what I do when I fire someone.
Say, hey, I love how you're always on time. And
we found out that you've been embezzling money. And I really love
like
your shoes.
Laura and I are always good for a shoe compliment. But this culture of negging and low-key insults, I have internalized it so much. I do it when I'm not even trying to do it.
You also grew up in our family, so you have to remember that's a key component of the way that we interact. Specifically, our father was big into this sort of communication.
Yes. A friend of mine gave me 2 copies of his comic book that he'd worked on a long time and invested a lot of time and money into. And I liked them. When I saw him next, I told him 2 things that I did like about the comic book. And he said, those are not compliments. Maybe I'm holding back compliments for whatever reason. I said, I remember very much the time that you're writing about, and it's very accurate. And I really like the illustrations or whatever. And he's like, well, those are not really compliments to me. I'm like, oh, right.
You're just telling me that I made a comic book.
And that I read it. I guess I thought that the nice thing was that I read them.
I see.
One-upmanship. The great thing about this one is it can be one-upmanship to the good or to the bad.
Experience it as the bad. I'm having a really tough time. Oh, yeah? Well, I'm really having a tough time.
I stubbed my toe. Well, my foot fell off. But some of the other unexplored varieties of negging and haterism, they insult you under the guise of constructive criticism. I love this one. Like, hey, can I give you some advice? Sure. Feedback is a gift.
No.
Or they disguise insults as questions. Aren't you ever going to get married?
Did you really think about it before you left the house with that on today? You're so brave.
You're so brave. My partner told me that he, a couple years ago, took someone to his family Thanksgiving, I think, and then he took someone else to Christmas because he was dating. And his aunt said in front of the person, "Oh, is this the same one?" A pretty mean thing to say. And he's like, "No, this is a different one.
This is a different person with a different background and experience, etc."
Then what happens when you tell the person, "Hey, that hurts my feelings"? "Well, I was just joking."
Why are you so sensitive? That phrase, "why are you so sensitive," is a big one in the narcissistic personality disorder community.
You're right. This kind of communication, especially, "Hey, I was just joking," definitely is something that our father engaged in. And I realize as an adult, it's because he didn't have adult friends. So he was trying to communicate, especially with me, as if I was his adult friend.
But I think that the way that he communicated with us was a pretty good indicator of why he did not have adult friends.
Yes, that is true. In general, my father did not feel very good about himself. Most of his communication was trying to shore up his own self-esteem.
But I think as a result, you were talking about giving sincere compliments. I really struggle with that.
Yeah.
I really do. It's very tough, especially when it's my family members.
Because I feel on some level, if I give someone a compliment, especially in comedy, there's this feeling like I'm losing something.
Yes, but I really do think that that's our family of origin stuff. I don't think other people feel that way.
As I discuss haters, I have to hold up a mirror to the hater within.
Sounds like a really incredible book title. I do feel like it's part of our trauma history. The next time I do NET, it's one of my targets.
Oh,
being able to compliment you or one of our other siblings without there being a weird feeling about it. I'll still do it, but I have a weird feeling about it.
yeah.
Because we were raised by wolves, I feel like a lot of our interactions were about dominance. We were trying to be the alpha, whatever. And so if you ever admitted that you made a mistake, or if you ever apologized for anything, or if you ever complimented someone, you were potentially pushing yourself further down the pile.
Yeah. We've been talking a lot in my relationship about that idea of pecking order and how awful kids can be, because every kid is just trying to be on top for their own survival. And it results in some pretty mean behaviors. I struggle with this, and this is childish. This is terrible. And I'm not proud of it. But if I do a show and I have a very good set, and then afterwards another comic wants to tell me, "Oh, that was really great," or whatever. If I don't think they're funny, I don't know what to do. And Portland definitely instilled this in me, that you should just be brutally honest at all times. You shouldn't encourage people who you don't think are funny.
Why?
I guess because they're going to hang out and take up resources. And then when I moved to LA, that was turned on its head because you have to tell everyone they're great all the time. One of the first things you learn is that skill or quality or merit has nothing to do with success. You can meet someone who's the unfunniest person you've ever seen, whose comedy actually aggravates you. But then they get a show that they're hiring for and they're looking around for their friends like, oh, you want to be their friend. I guess intellectually what I have learned after 18 years of comedy is that unfunny people will sort themselves out. You don't.
I mean, the wheat will separate from the chaff.
Yeah. I don't need to neg people to encourage them to stop doing comedy. The fact is that almost everybody quits. Incredibly funny people quit. Incredibly unfunny people quit. Extremely medium people quit. Almost everybody quits. And it's not my job to make this assessment, but I feel like it is.
That's very interesting. I think my mentality professionally for me is there's plenty of room for everybody.
Yeah.
I went to a party recently and there were a bunch of newcomers, new therapists entering the field. And I was like, hey, let me give you my number. I want to tell you all the things because I want more people in private practice. I want to be able to refer out. I want to know that fresh meat basically in this industry. I want that to happen because I want our profession to grow.
That is interesting. The idea of abundance and that more therapy creates more therapy is a really adult idea. It's a very generous idea rather than the idea that every therapist that exists is going to be competition for you. One of my lessons from therapy, and it's something that is very easy to say, but difficult to understand, I think, which is the phrase, it's not about you. If someone is being mean to you, petty, crummy, is giving you all kind of poop sandwich compliments, the first couple things that you can think are, well, one, they're mentally ill and it's not my problem and I don't have to deal with it. If it's a more casual relationship, could be that person is just having a bad day. It doesn't actually have anything to do with you. They're insecure. This was definitely my dad. He was putting other people down in order to make himself feel better. And the people he was putting down to make himself feel better were his children, which is a very strange decision.
You can't be a good parent and also be active in your narcissistic personality disorder. It's really impossible to be both.
The next reason someone might be being mean to you is the one that everyone's mom goes to first. They're jealous. They're just jealous.
I mean, sometimes they are. When I think about my biggest haterade, it happened in high school, especially in the group that I was friends with. It was very cliquey and it was very scarcity mentality. You had to be friends with the top person in this group. If you weren't, then you weren't going to get invited to these parties and you weren't going to date the people that you wanted to date, et cetera, et cetera. And so this one woman, she wasn't a woman at the time, she was a girl, but my God, the things she said to me with a smile on her face, it's insane.
Yeah. And to put it in context, looking at this as an adult, the people who you were in competition with and the people who you really wanted to hang out with were just a bunch of indie rockers in dirty t-shirts.
Burnout losers. I mean, it wasn't even indie rockers. This was Cure listeners. Okay.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
The worst sort of people.
Sometimes people will mistreat you because they are envious. Maybe you have something that they want. Someone I know is being extremely mean to me this year because of a relationship that I have that they want. And
is it because of this podcast? Be honest.
Yes, it's because of this podcast and they're very jealous.
That makes sense to me. I would be crying in my milk if I wasn't a part of this podcast.
Do you understand how many people in Zimbabwe are listening to this podcast?
Yes, I do. I think it's 3.
When you have the facts in front of you, when you say to yourself, well, this person wants to be with the person that I'm with, and she doesn't feel like she has any other recourse but to occasionally get absolutely S-house drunk and write me mean messages in the middle of the night, that does make it easier. This is the problem she's trying to solve.
Yeah. And when I look back at my hater from high school, I mean, there were many, but this particular one was pretty savage. She had really low self-esteem. She had a lot of body dysmorphia. Her older sister nagged on her constantly, so she felt really bad about her appearance and her body. I think that she felt like I was led into the group too easily, and she had to work harder to get in the group. And she really was kind of a poser. She wasn't actually cool. When I say cool, you have to say that in air quotes because we were not cool at all. But I think I had a much deeper depth and breadth of knowledge than she did. She was a chick who grew up in the suburbs, hadn't been outside or known much about the world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it was intimidating.
Yes. And when we think about people who were mean to us in middle school and high school, it's extremely funny to me because we were all of us white suburban kids. None of us were cool.
Yeah, we were a bunch of dumb losers.
Yeah.
And maybe I had a name brand t-shirt and you didn't, but I don't know.
But who cares?
I probably got it at Sam's.
What do you do when you are having, let's say, repeated interactions with a person who is negging you, who is making you feel bad about yourself, or is trying to make you feel bad about yourself? What are some productive things that you can do to not repair this relationship, but to protect yourself?
In our no contact episode, that's something we talked about, is having lower contact with that person. I'm just thinking about this hater, and I think I've talked about her before on this podcast, but there was this girl who was my quote unquote friend, and she would invite me to hang out with her and her boyfriend and this boy who I had a very intense crush on, but he had a very intense crush on her. It was so awful. And she would always invite me to hang out with them because she would have two men basically chasing her around, and I got to stand around like a big loser. I remember we were riding home. It was a long road trip back home. It was maybe over an hour. She started playing the song Hotel California. And I said, I really hate this song. And so she just played that song at like the loudest volume you could imagine for a solid hour just to upset me. So my solution to that was to not speak to her again.
And then that solved the problem. What if you're in a relationship that you can't sever or you don't feel comfortable severing?
I've had this with coworkers. I've had a coworker who is nasty and isn't kind and tries to be rude all the time. I think I just really try to limit my interactions and try to not engage.
You can also, just for the giggles, try to set a boundary and say, hey, when you play a song over and over again that I specifically told you that I hate, that makes me feel like you're trying to upset me.
Maybe it's because I'm too sensitive.
Maybe it is because I'm too sensitive. But when you talk to me about my body, I don't like it. I find that calling people out specifically is very helpful because when you say directly, the other day you said this shaming thing, you said this negative thing to me, and it hurt my feelings. Then they can't dance around it and say, oh, well, I didn't know. That wasn't about you. You're calling out the behavior for what it is.
Oh, they can still do it. Don't worry. They can still try to backtrack and lie and manipulate. But my policy, not always, but most of the time, is if someone is being rude to me and I feel like the relationship is worth salvaging or I don't have another choice, then I will say, hey, that wasn't okay. I find my biggest hater currently is my child. He said to me yesterday, in fact, that this Christmas this year was underwhelming.
Wow. Cool.
And I said, wow, when you say that, I experience you as very, very greedy because I gave you an excess of gifts.
Right.
Your stocking was so full that I had to get a separate gift bag and fill that to the top because you had too much stuff.
Let's face it. You got too much stuff anyway, dude. You got nowhere left in your room to put it. You got your own freezer.
He's only had one Christmas. He's about to have his second Christmas as grandparents. So there's no end to the amount of gifts he's going to have. But when he says just mean-spirited stuff, I remember there was one day I was getting ready and he said, you have a fat butt. And I said, buddy, that's really not a compliment. And he said, well, Graham says she has a fat butt all the time. And I said, well,
yeah, she does.
Sorry that Graham is self-loathing, but I don't like it. And it's not a compliment. And I don't want to hear it from you. That's not okay. You don't talk about women's bodies.
Yeah. Or let's go crazy. People's bodies. If you can't set a boundary, if you can't end the relationship, you might just have to distance yourself to protect yourself. In my better moments, I will reflect and say, what is this person trying to achieve? What are they trying to get out of this?
Sometimes your confusion that you're arriving at when you're saying, well, why would she talk to me this way? You're trying to apply logic to something that does not have logic.
Right. But most times I can find a thing that they're trying to solve for. Many of the horrible things that women have said to me, the things that echo in your head late at night, it's because they were literally jealous, or they were trying to feel better about themselves. They were telling me things that their parents had told them. I think that my former husband had a lot of problems with self-esteem and being told that he shouldn't be trying too hard or shouldn't be going for stuff. And all of that reflected back on me in a way that was very confusing at the time. But now I try to find more empathy for it. I had a business card made with my picture on it, and it was cute. And I was excited about them, and I was giving them out, and I gave them to a woman who is a performer in Portland. And she said, wow, you're really just shameless, aren't you?
In that moment, I would have said, wow, that was really mean.
That was really mean. And it doesn't even make sense. When you are a performer, you have to self-promote. But the spouse in question was like, yeah, she's really bad with that stuff. They just kind of took the opportunity to do a dog pile, but it didn't have anything to do with me. It had to do specifically with their feelings about themselves, the messaging that they had received from their families. And it's not my problem, and I didn't have to make it my problem.
But also, I'm a person, and I have feelings. There's a Buddhist saying of the people who anger you control you. So the goal is to not allow yourself to be angered. But I'm a person. Why wouldn't I have my feelings hurt when something that I was excited about and interested in, something I spent time and energy on, you're telling me just sucks? Somebody that I know recently made some stickers to promote themselves, and someone else was criticizing them for no reason that was helpful or apparent.
And I don't know.
You don't know. This is my experience, not yours.
Maybe that person is also a stand-up comedian and felt that I was going to take over their territory, or
they wanted to let the sticker creator know that they sucked and that their picture sucked.
Every time someone gives me a compliment, and I don't know who you're talking about, but I also have stickers. And every time someone gives me a compliment on my stickers, I say, well, this person told me that they were bad.
Also, I struggle with this too. The dog-eat-dog society that we're raised in tells us that there isn't enough, and we have to knock the wind out of people and make sure that people don't get too big for their britches. But I think also, specifically our family, we have been indoctrinated in this way of thinking that you're always looking for a joke. And I have a really hard time with this because I will see in moments, just normal interactions, where I can make a crappy joke that will make the other person feel bad. And I have to sit there and edit, especially with my child, because we have a very sibling relationship. It happened just last night. Mm-hmm. There was such an opening for me to say something really mean that would have been really funny to me, but would have been really hurtful to him.
And you're better at it than I am because you're a mother and you've had to train. It's very hard for me not to say the funny, mean thing if it occurs to me.
Hey, I'm about to compliment you. Get ready. I think you've gotten a lot better. I don't experience you making jabs just for the hell of it anymore. That used to be a big theme in our relationship. And I think it did create friction. And I'm glad that you're not doing that anymore.
Thank you. As far as remembering that the thing that they're saying is mostly about them, what are the reasons people are being mean to you? It's because they want to feel better about themselves, or they're trying to get something from you. They're trying to sleep with you, something else. But it's usually because they feel badly.
Specifically, if we're looking at our father, it was major depressive disorder. If I'm really, really depressed and you're not, I need to find a way to bring you down to my level because it makes me feel bad to see that you're okay.
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable.
It's the same as alcoholics. When someone gets sober, the alcoholics they used to have beer with are mad. They want you to come back because they don't want you to be functioning at a higher level, because then that shows that there's something deeply wrong with them.
Not just they love to have a good time or are fun to be with. When you talked about people who can never be wrong, and this is also something that I am thinking about in myself and working on in myself, to really be an adult and have the expectation that you're never going to be wrong about anything is ridiculous.
It's insane, literally.
Yeah, it's literally insane. And there's someone I know at work who really, truly feels, one, he can never be wrong. Two, he is always looking for wrongdoing in others. And it's a really fun dynamic. In times in the past, I would have been very challenged by this person and would have always given into the desire to fight and to say, no, I'm not wrong. You're wrong. Here's 5 reasons why. Here's all this document that I can assemble and show you why you're wrong. And now I just look at him and go, that's a really hard way to live. That's really challenging for you to feel like that you're so bad and you're worth so little that you cannot make a mistake.
Or that you live in a reality where the expectation is that you should never make a mistake.
Yeah. Because guess what? You're going to.
The thing I say to my clients all the time is, as long as I'm in this meat suit, I'm going to make errors, because that's a big part of being human. When I explode into light and become a part of group consciousness,
That's
I won't
not
have
your
to
problem anymore.
Right. But while I'm in this meat suit, it's going to continue to happen.
Yeah. What are your final thoughts on haters?
I think they're sad and I feel sorry for them. I think if you can distance yourself from them, if you don't have to have contact with them, then I would try to just distance. But I think the big mistake that we make is we try to understand. And I don't think that's a useful way to spend our time.
Because the answer is something that's not in the room with you and that doesn't have anything to do with you. This person is being mean to you because that's how their mom used to communicate, or that's how their ex-husband used to communicate.
Or they're incredibly depressed, or they're severely mentally ill, or they're just a crummy person. I think it's hard for us to understand that there are really just crummy people on the world, but there are. DV folks are not good. So why am I going to spend my time twisting myself in knots, figuring out why an abusive person is being abusive to me? So, Virginia, what are your final thoughts on Haterade?
My final thoughts are, as painful as it is when you are being served a hot steaming cup of Haterade, you're going to be well served by remembering that it's not about you. You don't have to defend yourself, and you don't have to put up with it.
So, Virginia, if somebody were to want to reach out and follow your comedy or find out more about what you're doing professionally, where would they go about doing that?
Well, because I currently have a TikTok that has 80,000 views on it, I pretty much, I feel like everybody probably knows who I am now. But if you live in the Portland area or even the Pacific Northwest and you would like to come see my comedy, you can check out my calendar at www.badinia.com, or you can follow my Instagram, which is at Badinia, and I promote all of my shows there. I don't really promote on TikTok and Facebook because it hasn't been that useful to me. But if you want to see my TikTok content, well, you can follow me at Badinia, Badinia. If you're interested in this podcast, if you want to reach out to us with a compliment, a question, a show idea, you can write us at hello@mysisterstherapist.com. If you would like to hire us to do a public speaking engagement, and we'll do that anywhere. We'll do that at your kid's swim meet,
your miniature horse competition,
an auto show,
your mud wrestling competition,
your couples retreat. You can write us at hireuss@mysisterstherapist.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, and you can check out our amazing website at www.mysisterstherapist.com, which was procured by Laura Ryan, LMFT.
Yes.
Laura, where can people find you on the internet should they want to do so?
Well, if they want to find my professional website, they'll go to lauraryan.org. If they want to find my very unprofessional TikTok, you can find me at I am Laura Ryan. If you want to reach out to the show, you can always go to mysistersatherapist.com, or you can check out our Instagram page, My Sister's a Therapist Instagram.
Laura, this is the part of the show where you sometimes will read a review that someone has written for us. Do you have one for us this week?
I'm going to read a listener email today. Hi, ladies. I'm in my grief era, so I'm listening to more podcasts than usual and have been binge listening MSAT. And here are some poorly organized thoughts. One of the best things I've seen in my ex JW, that's Jehovah's Witness boyfriend, and his ex-Mormon friend, tipsy at a party, talking about the rivalry between the two groups when they see each other door knocking. Insert Ennio Morricone soundtrack. Also, I can't remember which episode Virginia said something about how if you're thinking about dating a comedian to contact her first for an intervention, probably every episode. Anyway, Virginia, not only did I do that, but it was a comedian you know, and then later he broke up with me over text after we've been dating for 6 months. Oh, and the Gifted and Talented episode. My brother recently found our childhood dossiers with all of our G&T testing paperwork, and it was actually really upsetting for me. Like, why did I have to take the MMPI over and over? An IQ test just became another thing to get yelled at about when we refused to do our homework. I'm pretty sure in our case, this was all upper middle class scam by our parents to find something wrong and challenging about my brother and I rather than addressing my mother's alcoholism. Hard to concentrate in school or do homework when your mom's half in the bag plowing into mailboxes on the way to and from school. Anyway, love you ladies. Thinking of you too. Thanks for keeping me company. Wells. Thank you, Wells.
Thank you, Wells. We are thinking of you as Wells. If you would like to write us a review
or a very kind email,
you can write us a review either on Spotify or Apple, and we would love it and we would love to read it. Or you can just write us an email at hello@mysistersatherapist.com. I saw the comedian that our listener was telling us about recently, and it's no big loss.
Her biggest mistake was dating him in the first place.
Exactly. And in unrelated news, in the great words of Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn, we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.